in Rocktober. So it's I'm looking forward to it. I have to say, I hope that my schedule allows me on next Wednesday, August 10th, to check it out as it goes. If not, I'll just call it up and look at it later. I got my son coming in that day. He and a buddy are flying out of town, and I have to get them to the airport early on Thursday. But I digress. So yeah, good stuff. John Terlizzi's Doo-Wop and Golden Memories. It's going to be a regular occurrence here, God willing, and the creek don't rise here on Hamilton Radio. Yeah,
we got a couple new shows coming to us too.
Yes.
Which is actually coming to. Some are old, some are new, some are
barred, and some are blue.
But they're making their way to Channel 1. They used to be on Channel 2. Now we had a show years ago called the Jimmy Star Show. And Jimmy is an old friend. Jimmy's a friend that I met through another musician years ago. Jimmy's known a lot of entertainers in the business.
Where you are, Jimmy Star. Is that it? No, that's not it.
That's not it. But Jimmy Star is a native of, I believe, California and Philadelphia area. And Jimmy's interviewing actually Tony Orlando very soon. So he's making his way back to the radio station. He says, like, what happened? I said, I don't know, Jimmy. I was like, okay, let's get it back. No problem.
Yeah, bring it back.
We're happy to also have the new wrestling show.
Yes.
Which is going to be on probably this coming Sunday. And we're going to do that once a month. That's with Don Wiggins, Kyle, and Greg. The name of the show is what, John? I don't even know.
Let me see.
I don't have.
I'm trying to remember if Don and or Kyle named the program yet officially. It's part. Here's the thing, folks. It's part and parcel. It's the first in, but it's going to be part and parcel. It's going to be a keystone, if you will, of our pro wrestling hub efforts. And what that means, basically, in a nutshell, is call them breakout groups, so to say, or breakout categories of what we provide the listener and the viewer. One of them being about music, one of them being about radio, one of them being about wrestling, and we may even have others. We're looking at one possibly, the specific styles of entertainment that we can break out and have a hub of. Picture a bicycle wheel to where that's the hub, and we have the several shows coming out as the spokes of the wheel, providing different takes on whether it's local pro wrestling, big time pro wrestling, minor league pro wrestling, whether it's homegrown music, grassroots music, big time music, old music, new music, again, bar music, blue music, whatever. We're going to be embarking on several of these hubs, and Don and Kyle and Greg Frabel, who I know through my years in semi-pro football, they're stepping up, So if you or someone is into professional wrestling, I tell you, we're going to have something for you. We absolutely are.
I have some information from Bruce real quick. He said that he tried the number from Zoom.
Yeah.
About 6 times. The first time it said it didn't put in the ID. He put the ID in, it didn't go anywhere. So I told him try the other numbers. That's the only thing I can really do. I don't have another way for him to. I can give him my number and I'm call.
Yeah. Quickly, just to put a bow on this pro wrestling hub, it's called the Pure Wrestling Show. Pure, unadulterated, sheer, absolute wrestling. And Don and Kyle, they spearhead a bevy of local shows in both Northeast Pennsylvania, northern Maryland, and Don himself, he's from the Nashville area, so I'm sure, that there will be other efforts where these local And they're lots of fun. I have to tell you, these, if you've never been to one, they're just a riot. These local wrestling shows, these pro wrestling shows, they are an absolute blast. So that's what they're going to be keying on and specializing in. And they know people from all across the country as well there, Gino, that do the same thing. So as their initiatives unfold and get bigger and better and brighter and, you know, glitzier, schwitzier, they're going to be talking to other people, you know, in the world of pro wrestling. You know, they could be out in Las Cruces, New Mexico. They could be in Billings, Montana, you know, Olathe, Kansas. I mean, wherever it is that they do what they do, we're going to see if we can't include them into the hub, the pro wrestling hub, if you will. So watch for that. Yeah, watch for that, and watch folks for the various other hubs. Again, we're talking to some very great music people about a music hub. We're talking also possibly about, again, a magic hub. Just saw some great magic on television on America's Got Talent, that kind of a thing, where it's somebody who's looking to really make a splash because, well, they're good and we need to know that they're good. Radio, you know, the small stations, the online stations, you know, the mom and pop type stations that once were the rule and are now the exception. We're going to talk with them. There's all kinds of hubs. You know, got an idea for a hub, Bub? Let us know. admin@hamiltonradio.net. Email us and let us know your thoughts if you've got an idea for a hub that may be interesting. admin@hamiltonradio, all one word, admin@hamiltonradio.net. Gino, what's the buzz? Tell me what's happening.
Hello, Bruce, is this you?
This is.
Okay, I got Bruce Blackman on the phone. Bruce, welcome to Docg Presents, Docg and John T Presents. John Thielon, this is Bruce Blackman.
Hey, Bruce, good to hear from you, sir.
Hello.
Can you hear us, Bruce? Okay.
Can hear you fine.
Okay. So Bruce, I'm sorry about, I don't know why Zoom is acting weird or doing these stupid things. It happens all the time.
The mystery of the internet.
Yeah. So Bruce, tell us a little bit about you know, how you started out with music. Start there.
Started out in the 4th grade when we were issued a little plastic flute called the tonette. I became obsessed with it. Was in a citywide contest of 6 finalists. 5 of the finalists played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I played Flight of the Bumblebee. And that was my beginning. The music elementary school told the junior high band director about me, and he came over the next day, handed me a trumpet, and said, "You're going to be my first chair trumpet player." Oh. So he worked with me for 2.5 years before I went into junior high or middle school playing trumpets. First 7 years of music training playing trumpet, and then switched to keyboard because I found out I play trumpet at the same time.
I'm a former trumpet player, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So Bruce, how did you form the band Starbuck?
Starbuck had a group in the 60s called Eternity's Children. We had a song, Mrs. Bluebird, that hit the Southeast, went top 10 in a lot of markets, but it didn't make it nationally. And we ended up breaking up. We had really bad, crooked managers, you know, the same old story you've heard
over and over again from the older people. Yeah, I feel bad for you guys.
And then Bo Wagner, when I left Eternity's Children, they hired this guy named Bo Wagner, who was a percussionist, played vibes and marimba. He joined Eternity's Children, and he joined because he liked the songs they were recording. And he was looking for a band that would be good for vibes and marimba. Well, when he found out the guy who wrote the songs had left the band, he looked me up. In the meantime, he became Liberace's music director and was touring with Liberace. He came to a show in Atlanta. I don't know how he found me because this was obviously pre-internet, but he called me and invited me to the Liberace show. And we didn't want to go, but we did. He said we'd go backstage and meet Liberace. So we went, talked to Bo, and he was very persuasive, and that was in 1970. And we put the first Starbuck together by putting ads in the local hippie newspaper.
Where did you get the name Starbuck from? And then John, you can answer your question.
Well, when we put that the first version of Starbuck together in 1970, Bo had worked with Gary Paxton out in L.A. He played on all the association stuff. Along Comes Mary, Cherish, those things. He was also with Lewis and Clark. He had done a lot. He knew Gary. In the meantime, Gary Paxton, the producer, had moved to Nashville. Bo called him up. We went to Nashville, cut a one-day recording album, and we got a deal with RCA. Then RCA came to us. The name of our band at that time was Mississippi. And RCA said that we had to change our name because they were going to sign a band from Australia named Mississippi. So I had just reread Moby Dick. There's a character in there called Starbucks. I just blurted out Starbuck. Cool, that was the name. Then later on, the group they signed from Australia named Mississippi changed their name to the Little River Band.
Oh. Wow. That's really interesting. Go ahead, John. Do you have any questions for him?
I always like to ask, whether it was as you were coming up, like that music teacher you mentioned, or as you got to where you got, who were some of the good folks, the thumbs up type people that you had the pleasure of meeting and working with or knowing or however?
Oh, well, I have quite a few favorites. In terms of bands working with them, my favorite was ELO.
Oh, one of my favorites too.
Pardon?
One of my favorites too. One of my favorites is still.
Yeah, I got to meet Jeff Lynne, and he was asking me why we had so many synthesizers. We had used 6 Minimogs on stage, and that's because that's what it required to perform our music live. Now, they weren't most of the big acts of the 70s, usually as an opening act, but they didn't want you to do well. So if you did well, you got thrown off the tour, because we opened for some groups, and when they started doing their set, people were stomping their feet yelling for Starbuck. So we'd get thrown off. But ELO wasn't that way at all. They were very nice. In terms of people that I met, my very favorite of all, which was one of my favorite composers, was Burt Bacharach.
Oh.
So we got to go to dinner with he and Carol Bayer Sager. Is that the right name?
Yeah, Carol Bayer Sager.
Yeah, and I spent 2 hours with Burt Bacharach talking music and chord structures and flat 5s and 13s, and it was fantastic. He was my favorite, though.
Well, one of my good friends from the Eagles is Jack Temchin. He's actually the writer and purveyor of all the songs that they started out in the early 70s with, like Take It Easy and all the other ones. Is songwriting easy for you, Bruce?
Much. I wrote my first song when I was in 4th grade.
Wow.
Geez.
And after he get reasonably decent after 30, 40 years of practice, like anything else. But yeah, I've never had writer's block. I've got a list right now of over 1,500 titles that I want to write. I'm not.
Wow.
Well, I just got to tell you, I'm friends with Phil Hatton. Phil Hatton has been a friend to Jeff Lynne and ELO probably for over 50 years. He was his best mate from his time in ELO with Roy Orbison and Traveling Wilburys and just everything. They're best friends. And he was also part of their entourage. When he goes to tour, he's just like his manager that takes care of everything. Phil Hatton is the kind of guy that, he knew George Harrison. And like I said, everybody. Is there people like that you still know in the industry, or, a lot of them don't even bother anymore?
Not a lot of them. I've done a few these yacht rock shows and ran into Ambrosia and
David Pack.
Yeah.
Stephen Bishop.
Yeah.
So I know all those guys pretty well. But a lot of them have passed on. We were real good friends with Bo. Bo played with Jimmy Seals, going all the way back to the Champs. Remember the song Tequila?
Mm-hmm.
That was Jimmy Seals played sax on that.
Oh, Jimmy Seals played at sax. Oh, I didn't know that.
He sure did. Yeah. And so we toured with Seals and Crawford. Got to fly on their DC-3. We were bus people.
So, hey, Bruce, I bet you know a good friend of mine. He was a blues guitarist and studio musician for Fleetwood Mac, and also he was under the management of England Dan and John Ford Coley. His name is Boyd Williams.
Now, I've heard that name. He's not from Mississippi, is he?
He is from, no, I don't believe he might. Well, he might be from Mississippi. I haven't talked to him in years, but he is an excellent blues guitarist.
Yeah, that name's ringing the bell, but I can't quite place it.
I'll try to hook you up with him because he's still a good friend of mine, and I still play his music today, and he's still an awesome blues guitarist. I mean, I think he's close to Eric Clapton in a lot of ways.
Woo, that's getting up there.
Yeah, he's also friends with was friends with England Dan and John Ford Coley, and
we toured with them too.
So yeah, you probably ran into him. He's also friends with Lori Nicks, which is Stevie Nicks' sister-in-law.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of ties there with a lot of different people.
Now, when I was with that first group of Turner's Children, this was back in the late '60s. Our producer was Keith Olsen.
Oh, Keith.
Keith Olsen and Kurt Betcher, and we had done a lot of opening shows for the Music Machine. Sean Bonnewell and the Music Machine had a song called Talk Talk, and we were in and around the studio. In fact, we got our first record deal with A&M Records, and the name of the song was one that I wrote called Rumors.
Oh,
and then
cool.
The next thing I know, we're hanging out in the studio in LA out there. Later on, I ran into Keith, and he was recording this band called Fleetwood Mac, and the album was Rumors.
Well, there's a lot of that's weird. I mean, that's just that's
all around that same time there, the mid 70s. 76 was a big year. I mean, it was you guys. I mean, it was Fleetwood Mac. It was Boston. I mean, holy smokes! How could you go wrong?
With Boston, we did shows with Boston, KC and the Sunshine Band. We did quite a few shows with those people. Boston were great. They were fantastic.
Now you mentioned yacht rock. Yacht rock to me is, and I hate to say it this way, but sometimes in some people's minds, it's classic rock, easy listening.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, really, yacht rock is just, for lack of a better term, more sophisticated chord changes, a la Steely Dan, and then your regular rock is pretty much major chords, simpler chords, just done more from a performance and energy standpoint. Whereas was yacht rock, it is pretty much, but it's sophisticated, easy listening. It's not like the old easy listening when it was how much is that dog?
John, do you have any more questions for Bruce?
I have to say, and Gene and I were just speaking about this before we got on with you here. I think almost everybody in the country back in 76 had some sort of copy of Moonlight Feels Right. Mine was on a K-Tel album. But I always caught, even as a younger guy, that there was a whole undercurrent about the Baltimore area about that song. Was there something significant about that?
Not really. The song is a story about how I met my wife in college. That's what it's about. I mean, I've seen so many people saying, "Oh, it's a sleazy old guy trying to pick up a young girl." No, not at all. It was about when I was in college, I saw this girl on campus, just stunningly gorgeous. I asked her out 2 times. She very definitively said no. I thought, 3 strikes and you're out. I tried the 3rd time. She said yes. We became an item. So one night we went out to a lake. This was outside of Moorhead, Mississippi. And I had an old ratted out MGB convertible. We dropped the top, sat there and could see the moon reflecting off the lake. So that's what the song was about. Then but I couldn't say, I'll take you on a trip beside the ocean and drop the top at a lake in Mississippi. I couldn't do that. So I called my friend who's a doctor, my best friend, and he's the smartest guy I've ever known. I said, "John, said, I need the name of a big city that's got a bay on it. He said, you idiot, Baltimore, Chesapeake. I went, thank you.
Oh, so that's where that connection came from then.
Yeah, yeah. I just needed I needed that. I couldn't say, up the top of the lake in Mississippi outside of Moorhead.
And here's the thing, that song, would you consider it a one-hit wonder? Because I mean, I go through this all the time with artists and bands and people that listen, because I've been doing it, this 26 years, over 30 years on the radio, 26 years my own station, and I tell people all the time, these bands aren't only one-hit wonders. They had other songs. This is the song you remember because it was pushed the most by the record company or the DJ or, but it's not their one-hit wonders. They've had many, many hits, many songs.
Yeah, it just boils down to what you consider a hit to be. Charlie Minor, was a good friend of mine, promoter from A&M and then later on United Artists. He told me one time, he said, there's only 6 real hits a year. And I said, what's a real hit? He said, that's just saturated. You get away from it because radio's always looking for that, and it's quite rare. But for instance, Starbuck had 2 songs that made the top 40. We had 3 that went to number 43. If you think about it, the difference, they label a hit as anything in the top 40.
Right.
What's the difference in a number 43 and a number 40? Oh, about 100 record sales in one radio station.
Wow, that's crazy.
And we actually had 12 songs that made the Billboard chart. But Moonlight was that's sometimes in terms of a career, sometimes that's the worst thing that can happen to you when you get a song that's massive like that. That Moonlight would have been number 1 for weeks, but our record company, Private Stock, had some kind of road going with RIAA, the Record Industry Association of America.
Right.
And then basically it was number of airplay, plus the number of certified sales equals a number. The largest number is number 1, next largest is number 2. Well, by RIAA. Well, you all would not report our sales to RIAA. So all we ever had was the number of airplay plus 0.
Really? That's crazy.
Had he reported sales, we would easily have been number 1. I mean, I can see that now because, Don't Go Taking My Heart and Afternoon Delight were the 2 that were above us. And I can see the airplay reports today and probably triple or quadruple the amount of airplay of those 2 songs, even today.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, not that they weren't good songs, don't get me wrong. Most of them were really great songs, but it's just one, like you said, it's timing. It's a lot of different reasons, but it's also the people that were in charge of what they could do and what they didn't do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, Private Stock didn't even promote Moonlight at all. It came out in September of 1975.
Well, is it, Bruce, is it because they believed that in their thoughts, maybe they thought that it wouldn't be or go anywhere?
Yeah, it's exactly what they thought, but they thought it was good enough to take a shot. So they mailed it out to 24 stations and nothing happened. But Wagner and I bought 500 of our own singles.
Really?
And we went out in September and Bo went to 3 states. I went to 3 different states. We had hundreds of radio stations playing, but they were all small. It just wasn't enough to move the needle. And I was coming back from Mobile, going through Birmingham, Alabama, had 1 record left. And we had no luck at all at bigger stations, none. And there was a station there, WERC, which is AM back in those days. It was a very powerful station. Mike St. John was the PD, and he was very well respected in the industry. So I just stopped in there and actually met Mike St. He listened to it, and he said, man, this is good. He said, this is not a fall winter record. This is a spring record. I'll play it next spring. I thought that was just a nice way of saying no,
Mm-hmm.
So I left. Well, 6 months later, Mike St. John calls and said, dude, this is a hit. My phones are absolutely exploding. He called the record company. They did a test market in Birmingham and sold 25,000 copies in 10 days.
Wow.
And that's when the record company, went on the record.
Right.
Started promoting it.
Wow. John? Oh, John's frozen up. So I want to ask you, Bruce, with all that writing and everything, what are your song styles like? Like, what do you? I mean, it's probably a little bit of everything, but do you do like a country flavor? Do you do like a rock flavor? Do you do a jazz flavor? Do you do certain songs that deal with this or certain songs deal with that? Just give me a little bit of your songwriting styles.
I would say I land more in the jazz pop area. It's because I grew up playing the trumpet and was into big band stuff. And then with Starbuck, what I did with the mini modes was I just used them like it was a big band. So like the opening riff and Moonlight, da 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 da. You can imagine a horn section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's just what I was doing, is arranging horns and then playing it on mini mode. So I would say that's where I like chord changes, and I'm not a Ted Nugent type of music fan. I always call that disturbed teenager music. I'm sure he thinks I'm disturbed too, but what the hell,
Yeah, you're right. I kind of agree with you there. I like the I like the laid back rock, but I also like the little bit of rocky rock, but also like a little bit of everything. So
Me too.
I'm not in that flavor where I can say, oh my God, I like this one better than this one, because there's so many aspects of this is actually how I formed my station, Bruce, years ago. I said there's too many things to like as a musician. There's too many things to not like as a musician.
Yeah.
And I want people to know a little bit about every musician, not just the song they did, a little bit about who they are, what they've done, what they created, almost like a mini interview in their own way with their songs, because their songs tell a lot about the person.
Yeah, that's true. And I remember way back when people would talk about albums and say, "Man, I'm so angry. I bought an album for such and such song, and that's the only song I like. Why don't they make albums where I like every song?" Well, boy, I wish I knew what the hell that was, because I'd certainly do it.
Absolutely.
The thing is, if you could take just name 3 of your favorite songs of all time, and there'll be 50 million people that think those are 3 of the worst songs of all time. And that's the way it is. It's art.
It is. And just tell me a little bit about some of the places that you were. You were on the Lawrence Welk show. I used to watch Lawrence Welk with my grandmother, and my mom and my dad. I used to love, Myron Florin and different things, because again, I'm a musician, so I can appreciate the different sounds and the different accomplishments of each artist and each genre, whether people like Lawrence Welk or they don't Lawrence Welk. What was it like on the Lawrence Welk show?
Well, I wasn't on Lawrence Welk. That was Bo Wagner, our marimba player.
Oh, Bo Wagner. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
He
dated both of the Lennon sisters.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Bo was. That guy. He had his own Vegas show when he was 10 years old. I mean, he's just an amazing person, and musicianship. You got to be kidding. Virtually every university in America uses his mallet stone. Moonlight Feels Right as the PhD level of accomplishment.
Wow. Very cool. Well, what was it like to be on some of the shows like the Midnight Special, American Bandstand with Dick Clark, the Merv Griffin Show, Dinah, the Mike Douglas Show, and Solid Gold? They were all in their own times, they were big.
Oh yeah, we had a blast on them. The Bandstand, when we were going to leave on a Thursday. We were going to be taping Bandstand the first time on a Friday. Well, my manager said he didn't think I had enough hair to be a front man. So they sent me downtown Atlanta on Wednesday. They shaved off the front of my head, sewed hair into my head. So I had a Wolfman Jack hair. Well, the next morning I get up, my head's all puffy and it looked like it was infected. So my wife cut all those stitches out and then I had to put methylate on it, and I looked like a medical experiment.
Oh no. Oh, Jesus.
So we fly out to LA. Well, I had to cover up my head. I had no choice. My wife goes out on Sunset Strip. She came back with a yacht hat and this little flat English driving cap. And I tried them all on. I'm talking just 10 minutes before we're going on. And she said, "Oh, that white hat, that flat white hat, that looks the best. It's kind of cool." So I put on that white hat. So we did a whole bunch of TV shows with me wearing that white hat. It's the only time I'd ever worn it. About 3 months later, we're in Kansas City. Hamilton, Joe Franklin Reynolds opened for us. We came out. I didn't have a hat on because my head had healed.
Right.
Well, the entire audience started stomping their feet, going, "White hat, white hat, white hat." Sent my roadie out to the bus. He comes back on stage holding that white hat, and the hat got a standing ovation. So I went, "Okay, you want a white hat? You got it."
So that's how the white hat became one of your, signatures type of thing.
That's it. The audience chose that, not me.
That happened to Beach Boys too. I don't know, was it Al Jardine or Mike Love, but
Mike Love.
Well, Mike Love, yeah, I was with the white hat. It was so cool. In fact, it reminds me a lot of that. Did you ever meet or work with the Beach Boys?
No, we never did. We were going to do a show in California, and something happened on their end that they canceled it. Very disappointing to me. I especially wanted to meet Brian Wilson.
Oh yeah, Brian Wilson.
Especially Brian, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Wilson's on tour right now, but still, I think,
know.
and my one of my good friends, I'm trying to think of his name, but he's friends with the Beach Boys, is coming back from the tour, and he's going to be doing interviews with us soon. So I'm really excited about that, because I'm going to talk a little bit about the Beach Boys and how they changed over the years. Has Starbuck really changed that much when you do the yacht tour? It's like you said, a lot of the members aren't there anymore, but do you find that people still know who you are?
Oh yeah, they know the song certainly more than the name. The names now, it's a terrible name because Google does not delineate singular and plural.
Right.
So if you type in Starbuck, just for Starbucks.
Yeah.
I mean, they know the song. We did a show in Atlanta. That Piedmont Park. There's probably 15,000 people there. And they announced Starbuck Moonlight. So it was right there. The crowd just absolutely roared. And those things, we do that. Lucky Man, I Got to Know. These are some of those songs that, went to around number 40, 43.
Right.
That's what we do. We have a new album coming out August 30th, Starbuck 2022.
Well, you got to make sure you get that to me, Bruce, by my email or whatever. But let me just impart a little bit on what you just said. This is the problem that oldies bands have. I don't understand why it's a problem, but you'll probably understand it more than anybody, because our good friend Terry King of the Drifters, he's got new music coming out. The oldies radio stations won't play his new stuff because he says the only ones they'll play are the ones that people know that listen. They won't know the new stuff. They don't know who this person is. They don't have an idea. So you have that problem now of, even though people know who you are and know your band, they don't know your new stuff. The newer generation don't know you.
I had a friend in Houston who just went, this was literally like a month ago, went to a Steely Dan concert. He said Donald Fagen announced that we're going to do some songs from their latest album, which is like a couple, 3 years ago.
Right.
He said half the audience got up and went to the concession stand. But I do understand that because music is an association. So the good old days of music, where I don't care who you are, correspond with about junior high through about halfway through college. That's when you were young and carefree, and you have all these. I hate that song because that girl broke up with me. Oh, I love this song because that was my first date. Yeah. It's always an association. As you get older, you're not making those new associations, so you don't have, you don't have the same. Even though your audience got older, they don't have room for new music because they don't hear a new song and associate it with something other than, damn, I got old.
Yeah. That's kind of the problem I think that a lot of people are going to experience, especially music artists from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Even my friend Pepe Castro has said the same thing from the Blues Magoos and the band Balance in the 80s. He said, we played
with the Blues Magoos with the Turkish Children in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Oh, did you? Oh, great. I love it. And Pepe's a great friend of mine. interviewed him maybe a few times, and we've talked a lot off the air. And it's just nice to talk to you musicians and hear some great things. I mean, I'm friends with John Fort Coley from England, Dan and John Fort Coley, and John is an incredible musician in his own right. And and it's just nice to see you guys, formulate some type of music friendship over the years and still try to keep it as best you can. I know it's hard. Things get hard for everybody. It gets hard for the musician.
I tell you what, I love it. I mean, I have my own studio now. I mean, this album we got coming out took me 4 years to do it, simply because I used to have to cut an album if I had 3 days, because we recorded in Studio One in Durham, and all we got was the off time between Leonard Skinner and rhythm section.
Right.
It was always, now I just take my time. I love it. I have the social media presence.
Beautiful.
I have an audience that's big enough to make it comfortable, and it's just a blast. I mean, I'm gonna do it till the day I drop.
That's the way to do it. I have to tell you too that the music that you maybe have coming out, I'd like to find out more about it. Can you go into some of the songs and some of the things that you put on here for our listening audience?
Well, first song, there's one called Soft Dog. My wife got me to write that because she said young women are so into their dogs. And then I wrote a song called My Jolie Demoiselle, simply because I wanted to write a song that was in French and Italian. I wrote one afternoon, I was in the garage and I was singing, and my wife walked out and she said, "What is that you're singing? I like that. It's cool." And I wasn't even aware I was singing.
Yeah.
What I was singing was dancing in the mirror with myself, looking good in my sombrero. And she said, "Joe, you got to write that." One of the songs, tempo songs, is My Sombrero. So it's just kind of nuts, a little all over the place. I've got some.
I love stuff like that. Yeah.
That sounds like Andrea Bocelli could have done it. I got some stuff that is Latin. It's just because I approach it as a songwriter rather than as one band has one sound and it goes all the way through like that.
No, and that's a great way to approach something too, because you don't leave anything out. I've talked to my friend Terry Draper from Klaatu, and Terry has been a good friend over the years, and he said the same thing. He says, "Listen," he said, "I do everything and anything and then bring anybody in whenever I want." Alan Parsons, same way. I love the fact that you can. And now, is there any guests on this album with you?
No, as a matter of fact, there's not a single musician on it except me.
Okay, so you're doing everything. You're
Everything
doing the
on
solo,
keyboard, even
everything.
drums.
You're doing the drums too. Oh wow,
Yeah.
very, very cool. I love that. So you said this is coming out in what, a couple months?
August 30th is the official release date.
August 30th. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that because we're on iHeartRadio and we're also on Smoke and Bacon Radio, which is a big military audience all over the world that we also work with, we would love to not only play this music, but share it with the world and share it with our listeners and help hopefully get more prominence for you and more people will know about it. Now, how can they purchase the CD?
I'll send you one.
No. I mean, for my listeners.
Oh, well, it's not out yet. So once it's out, it'll be everywhere. The easiest place to get it is go to moonlightfeelsright.com. It's going to be available there.
Okay.
Long before iTunes and Spotify, because it takes time for that to propagate to the digital world.
So, Bruce, are you coming up to the East Coast anytime soon? Because I'm in New Jersey.
Well, we're getting offers all the time. I'm looking at it. And the thing is, it has to be feasible. I can't do one-offs.
Right.
Because I can't put all that together and all those logistics and do a one-off. So if I can string together enough of them, 6 to 10 dates within the 3 or 4 weeks, the answer is yes.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds super good. I mean, I love the fact that, number one, you've worked with some major people. The band itself that you've been in has been with incredible musicians. I learned a lot about that. I do want to hear more about Eternity's Children. I didn't really know about that, or Mrs. Bluebird. I grew up in the 60s. And my life basically was playing the trumpet, listening to Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago and trying to mimic what they were doing, and the band Lighthouse from Canada, and then of course sports, and then after that it's just life takes over, and you just don't have.
Man, you sound exactly like me because I went to Mississippi State on a track scholarship.
Oh, very cool.
I was very much into sports. Played football in high school. I got injured. They wanted me to play in college, but I didn't want any part of that because I was too thin. They just wanted my speed, but I was too thin. I mean, I didn't want to get hit by 285-pound guys when I weighed 155. It didn't make sense to me,
Well, what's funny is when I played football, and I'll just mention this real quick, you'll probably remember the names. A lot of people like, who's that? Who? There was two great quarterbacks. One was from Dallas Cowboys, which was, I believe, Roger Staubach. And the other great, because he used to throw them bombs, and that's what I was always throwing them bombs. He would be I think in the 60s, he was probably the top quarterback around from the Colts, Johnny Unitas.
Johnny Unitas, yeah.
See, you remember them. Nobody else knows who I'm talking about.
Oh, how about Gino Marchetti, Alan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, sports is part of who you are. That's so cool. Oh my God, Bruce, we gotta do something. I'm trying to put together a big music hub, and within that hub, what's going to happen with that hub? And I'll just explain it to you this way. Within that hub, what's going to happen is it actually costs zero. It cost anything. But what's going to happen to that hub is, all we ask is if we're part of that hub with you, that you help promote what we're doing and help promote what you're doing. So which intact would create, let's say, a hub for the music, a hub for the songs, the events, the venues, and all the different things that you're doing around that. And all we ask is bring some of your friends with integrity, some of your friends' businesses with honesty, and help build that hub to the point where not only are we all recognized on Google, but we're all making money for doing absolutely nothing but just promoting each other and promoting ourselves.
Count me in. I got 40,000 social media followers.
Oh, there you go. All right, Bruce. Bruce, I think that's a win-win for all of us, as they say,
Sure.
So I wanted to ask you, was there any thoughts of any time that you were going to do, well, you were talking about a horn section from Leonard Skinner, but did you do any horn arrangements or something in any of your songs with Starbuck or even now?
Yeah, I mean, especially the album I got coming out, it's got massive horn arrangements. It's me playing them, but see, what I'll do is I'll take my synthesizer. I've learned how to do it, have great horn sound, but you can only play one note at a time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to play a chord, it's cheesy.
Right.
You play one note at a time, hold your breath, just like so you know when. That's another thing. And then I'll take the real trumpet, put a top on it, which gives it that edge. I'll play a real trumpet along with 2, 3, however many parts of the other brass.
Oh, nice.
And you wouldn't know that it isn't literally a 4-piece brass section.
Oh, wow. I'm going to love, listen, I'm going to love the new album. I mean, without hearing it, upon hearing it, I'm going to it's probably going to be one of my top albums.
I'm horn crazy.
So out of all the places that you were at, Midnight Special, American Bandstand, which one would you say treated you the best, the fairest, and probably got you the most bang for your buck? Was it the Midnight Special with Wolfman Jack, or was it American Bandstand?
Well, just in terms of audiences, obviously American Bandstand, but the one that was the most enjoyable by far was Merv Griffin.
Oh, Merv. Okay.
Yeah, we did his show 2 times. After the show, Merv came out and he said, Bruce, he said, have you ever noticed the similarity between your song Moonlight Feels Right and the song Fever? And I said, not really. He sat down at a grand piano and son, that guy could smoke some keys. Sing, smoke. He was great.
Wow.
So we started singing and moving in and out of Moonlight Feels Right and Fever because they both have that da 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 that
right.
Up down melody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
he was a blast. He was a total blast.
I love how you arranged that song. And that song is, like I said, has staying power that a lot of songs don't have. It's got that one it factor. And I don't know if that was thought about when you did it, or it was just one of them. It's one of them things. It's just a baby, and you just, hope it grows.
I wrote that song. People ask me all the time how long it take you to write the song. I said about 15 minutes and 15 years to learn how.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's absolutely awesome. And I love that little keyboard in there too. That makes it such a. I love the keyboard intro. I love the keyboard. Also the was it the I forget what they call it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there was a marimba solo, and then after the marimba solo was a mini mode solo.
Right.
The record company heard it. They wanted to cut the marimba solo out. They said the song was too long. It was 3:45 in the era where they wanted songs under 3 minutes.
Yeah, because they figured they could push
for
more.
some reason, I said no. I don't know why I did that. We didn't have anything. We were turned down by 12 major labels in the 70s. They all said a clone of the same thing. They said it's not Southern rock, or it's not disco, or they said both. And I'm thinking, well, hey, tell me something I didn't know, And then, 2 years later, they're burning disco records.
So they didn't want you to be like them, but yet they still were pushing other ones that are like that.
Yeah, man, it's the suits. I never got along with them fat old men. I never did.
Well, it's the ones that control and have controlled and will control, or not control anymore. But to some point right now, from what I talk about with new bands, they say that loan, that they give you is just a loan. They're not doing anything for you anymore.
Oh no, you don't even really. There's record companies. In fact, there's probably about 10,000 record companies, and all these smaller labels. They're such a ripoff. These bands don't realize that you develop a following. You got to have one customer before you get two, and don't be in such a hurry, because all these small labels are doing is they will sign bands that are playing live, because they know every band, no matter how bad they are, can sell a couple of 300 CDs or downloads. And so what these labels will do, they're looking to get 1,000 little bands that can sell 200 copies.
Right.
So in terms of the record company, they're selling 200,000 copies. In terms of the band, they're making about $1.71 a piece,
which is nothing.
You don't need a record company. You don't. You just need, to get out there with your presence. The other thing they need to understand is without promotion, nothing happens.
Yeah, and building your social networks, and I tell this to musicians all the time, is the key to being successful. Because if you're, I don't know why they don't understand that. I don't know if it's old.
I don't either. It's all you got, and it's really so easy. It just takes time. It doesn't take money. It takes time. Well, when you're at that level, hell, you got plenty of time.
Bruce, I don't even know how I found you, but it was one of them things where, and here's the other thing that I tell them all the time: make yourself accessible. If you don't make yourself accessible, people will just go to the next, the next person, or the next person they can reach, because I can't reach half of the people that are on there. I have a good friend, John Taffer. He runs a bar rescue. He does bar things. He's a great guy, super nice guy.
I was in his bar last week right here in Georgia. I've been a fan of John Taffer for forever.
And he's a super nice guy, but you can't get a hold of him. It's just one of them. It's one of them things that I try to reach out to him all the time. And I reached out to him a couple of times. He says, like, email me. So I email him. I still don't hear anything. And they tell you to email their managers, and you still don't hear anything. So it's frustrating beyond belief. So Bruce, what I wanted to ask you is, if you wanted to send anybody my way, please do. I have no problem with interviewing them. I have no problem giving their time, and I have no problem working with them to help them build our hub together, so we can all, live our life the best way we can on the way out.
Okay, well, have you interviewed guy I know quite Elliot Lurie?
Oh, Elliot. No, I haven't, but I've heard of him.
Or how about Michael Eaton?
No,
Steele or Bertie Higgins?
Oh, I love Bertie Higgins. No, Key Largo. No, Listen.
put you on to them.
Yeah, I mean, I love all that music. My friend, one of my friends, Lee Newton in Nashville right now. She's worked with Leroy Parnell and also Pam Tillis, and the incredible country artists beyond belief. Very, very down to earth, very, very nice to work with, and wonderful people. And that's who I'm looking for. That's what I'm talking about with integrity for this hub, because I think that's going to make it much more better for us to be more accessible, to be more open, to be more entertaining, and to actually sell more of our products or services or whatever we do, to create that.
That's it.
Yeah. So Bruce, what I wanted to ask you real quick, and then I'm going to let you go because I've had you for almost an hour. Please, if you can do a sweeper for me, so when your new music comes out, or even when Starbucks Moonlight Feels Right comes, I play. If you can do a sweeper for me, if you want to send it to me, that's fine. Or if you want to do one right now, just let me know, and then I'll just tell you what you can say.
Message me or send me an email, and just vaguely what you want me to say. I'll work around that. I like to do it. I do it in the studio, and it'll sound real good.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I want. That's what I want. Okay, great. Beautiful. Bruce, I want to thank you so much. John had some Wi-Fi issues, but he says he enjoyed the interview so far, what he was saying and what we're doing. And he lost his Wi-Fi signal, but it happens. And I apologize for that. But I want to thank you for coming on today. I enjoyed this so much. I apologize for the Zoom issue with the phone. I don't know why it's doing that. Sometimes they have these little digital issues that crop up every now and then.
It's Zuckerberg. He
Yeah,
hates.
well, that's part of it. That's kind of why we were starting our own Roku channel too, because I was just so tired of dealing with all this. You can't run this, and if you're playing music, they won't let you do this. I said, listen, I've been paying royalty rights for over 26 years for music artists. So if I have to get Henry Fox from the Fox agency to do a umbrella policy where when I play you guys on Roku or any music on Roku, it's paid royalties, I don't have a problem doing that, but I just have to find out my route to do that, and if I can do that, because everything is if you don't have the royalties to this, you will get sued, and I don't want to go that route. I want to be on the straight and narrow, and in God's rear view mirror, and hopefully helping as many people as I can help.
Yep, that's cool, man.
Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for your time. I enjoyed this so much. You're a super nice guy. I wish you nothing but the best for the new album. Like I said, send me people if you can, and if you want to come back and talk about the new album after it comes out again, I'm here. I just reach out to me and say, hey, I'd like to talk about some of the songs. I like to talk about this. I like to talk about that, or my touring or whatever. Just reach out to me.
Okay, I'll do it, man.
Thank you, Bruce. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, I enjoyed it.
All right. You have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was, of course, Bruce Blackman, and from the band Starbuck. And Bruce is a super, super nice guy. Bruce is one of them guys that you don't know what they're going to be like until you interview. And he seems to like our idea about the Music Hub. He seems to like our idea about this and idea about that. So it's just an incredible thing. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening on the radio, Hamilton Radio, also Smoking Bacon Radio. And you guys are all wonderful. We love you all. Have a great day. God bless. And we'll see you later on tonight. We have a couple more interviews tonight on the Jimmy Deal Show. And see you soon.